I froze mid-bite when my dad said it, like it was nothing. You ever have a moment where the entire room shifts, but no one says it out loud? That was mine. We were all at the dinner table, plates full, voices overlapping, my aunt laughing too loud at something my uncle said. It was one of those rare nights where everyone was together. My mom had spent all day cooking. My sister Camila was talking about her university classes like she always did. Confident, effortless, like everything in her life just worked. Before we continue, please hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, and turn on the notification bell for updates. And me? I was quiet, listening, like I always am. Then my dad leaned back in his chair, looked straight at my aunt, and said it. We only paid for her. Not whispered, not hesitant, just said. And I stopped chewing. At first, I thought I misheard him. I mean, who says something like that? Out loud, in front of everyone. But no one corrected him. No one laughed. No one even looked surprised. That's when it hit me. That heavy, sinking feeling in your stomach when something you've always suspected suddenly becomes real. I slowly looked up. My mom was staring down at her plate, gripping her fork so tightly her knuckles turned white. My dad? Calm. Too calm, like he hadn't just split the room in half. And Camilla? She wasn't smiling anymore. See, this wasn't just about college money. If it were, I probably would have stayed quiet, swallowed it, like I always do. But this was something else. Because for years, there were little things. Tiny moments that didn't make sense at the time. Mind the way my questions about college were always brushed off. The way they'd say, we'll figure it out later. But later never came. Meanwhile, everything for Camilla was already figured out. I told myself it was temporary, that my turn was coming. It wasn't. And in that moment, sitting at that table, surrounded by people who suddenly felt like strangers, I realized something else. They weren't just choosing her, they were hiding something. So I put my fork down, slowly, looked both of them in the eye, and I said, then maybe it's time you tell everyone what you did. My mom's hand started trembling. My dad leaned forward, voice low, sharp. Not here. That's when I knew. This wasn't about money, and whatever they were hiding, it was worse than I thought. They thought I wouldn't say anything. Honestly, mine I almost didn't. I stayed sitting there for a second after my dad said, not here. And for a moment, I actually considered backing down. You know that feeling, right? When everything in you is screaming to speak, but years of being the easy one tells you to stay quiet? Yeah, that. Because if you looked at my family from the outside, nothing seemed off. My sister Camila, she was perfect on paper. 21, top of her class, already halfway through a private university that cost more per year than my dad used to complain about in a decade. Straight A student, confident, polished, the kind of person people introduce with pride. And me? Melanic Mila, 17, quiet, part-time job since I was 15, the one who doesn't ask for much. At least, that's what they like to say. But here's the thing no one talks about. Being low maintenance doesn't mean you need less. It just means you stop expecting anything. And I stopped expecting a lot, a long time ago. Like when Camilla got SAT prep classes, and I got a link to a free website, or when they flew her out to tour colleges. While I was told, you can just look online, it's basically the same. Or the laptop. Yeah, that one stuck with me, brand new, gift wrapped. For school, they said. I got her old one a year later when it started glitching. But every time something didn't add up, there was always an explanation. Your sister needs it more right now. We're just being practical. You're strong, Mila. You'll figure things out. And I believed them. Or at least, I pretended to. Because what was the alternative? Admitting that your parents were choosing one child over the other? No one wants to think that. So I told myself a story instead, that this was temporary, that when it was finally my turn, things would balance out. But sitting there at that table, watching my mom shake and my dad avoid my eyes, that story collapsed. Because if this was just about money, they would have said so. If this was just bad timing, they would have explained it. But they didn't. They panicked. And that's when it hit me, the way it does when a puzzle piece finally clicks into place. This wasn't favoritism. This was something they didn't want anyone to know. Something big enough that my dad, who never backs down, just told me to stay quiet in front of everyone. I leaned back slightly in my chair, my heart pounding harder now. Not from hurt, but from clarity. Because suddenly, everything made sense. Not the way I hoped it would. But in a way, that was a lot worse. I looked at them again. Really looked this time, and I realized they weren't hiding money problems. They were hiding something about me. The moment my dad said, "Not here," everything clicked. Not slowly, not piece by piece, all at once. It was like my brain finally stopped protecting them and started connecting everything I'd been ignoring. So I pushed my chair back just a little, not enough to make a scene, just enough to make it clear I wasn't shrinking anymore. "You told me my college fund didn't exist," I said. My voice didn't shake. That surprised me. Across the table, my aunt frowned. "College fund?" My dad cut in quickly. "This isn't the time." "No," I said, sharper now. "It never is. Remember?" That landed, because everyone there could feel it. This wasn't some random argument. This was something that had been building for years. I looked straight at him. "You said there was nothing saved for me." Silence. Then I tilted my head slightly. "But that's not true, is it?" That's when my mom's hand started trembling again, worse this time. And my dad? He didn't answer. He just stared at me like he was trying to calculate how much I knew. Big mistake, because I didn't need him to confirm it anymore. "I saw the account," I said. That did it. A visible shift. My mom inhaled sharply, and my dad's jaw tightened just enough to give him away. "You went through our things?" he asked, low and controlled. I almost laughed, because that's what he chose to focus on. "I wasn't snooping," I said. I was looking for my future." That line hung in the air. No one moved. "I found the statements," I continued. "An account in my name, opened when I was born." Now the table was completely silent. Even the little background noises, forks, glasses, gone. "And for years," I said slowly, "there was money going into it." I let that sit. Let them feel where this was going. Then I leaned forward just slightly. "Until there wasn't." My aunt whispered, "What does that mean?" I didn't look at her. I didn't look at anyone except my parents. Because this was for them. "You didn't just forget about my college fund," I said. My voice dropped. Not softer, but heavier. "You used it." That was the moment everything broke. Camilla turned toward them so fast her chair scraped loudly against the floor. "Or what is she talking about?" My dad stood up halfway. "That's enough." "No," I said immediately. "You don't get to do that again. You don't get to shut this down." My heart was pounding now, but not from fear, from release. Years of silence cracking open all at once. I locked eyes with him. "Tell them," I said. He didn't? Of course he didn't. So I took a breath, and I made the decision I think a part of me had already made the second he said, "Not here." I straightened in my seat, looked around the table, then back at them. Or I will. No one at that table was breathing anymore. That's what it felt like, at least. Like the entire room had been frozen mid-moment, waiting for something none of them were ready to hear. I let the silence stretch, not because I didn't know what to say, but because I wanted them to feel it. Yes, the weight of it. The thing I'd been carrying alone for months. Then I spoke. Slowly. Carefully. "I didn't just find one statement," I said. "I found all of them." My dad's eyes flickered. Just for a second. Enough. "The account was opened when I was born," I continued. "Regular deposits, every month, for years." I could see it now. People at the table starting to piece it together. My aunt, my uncle, even Camilla. "But then," I said, my voice tightening just slightly, "about 3 years ago, the withdrawals started." Camilla shook her head immediately. "Wait, what withdrawals?" I turned to her for the first time, and for a second, I almost softened, because she genuinely didn't know. "You didn't just get your own college fund," I said quietly. "You got mine too." Her face changed, Confusion first, then disbelief, and then something heavier, something closer to horror. No, she said, looking at our parents. Tell me she's wrong. They didn't. They just sat there. And that silence? That was the answer. I exhaled slowly, steadying myself. They drained it, I said. Overtime, tuition payments, housing, expenses. I glanced briefly at my dad. And whatever else they didn't want to admit, they couldn't afford. A murmur spread across the table. Low, sharp, uncomfortable. My uncle leaned forward. Are you saying? Yes, I cut in. I'm saying the money that was supposed to be for my future paid for hers. Camila pushed her chair back, standing now. I didn't know, she said quickly, her voice breaking. I swear I didn't know. I know, I said, and I meant it. Because this wasn't her decision. This was theirs. Mine. I looked back at my parents. You told me there was nothing, I said. No savings, no plan. My voice steadied again, stronger now. But there was. You just decided I didn't need it. My mom finally spoke, barely above a whisper. We were trying to keep everything together. No, I said. I shook my head. You were trying to keep things easy. Another silence, heavier than before. Because now? There was no confusion left. No missing pieces. Just the truth, sitting in the middle of the table where everyone could see it. I leaned back slightly, my chest rising and falling slower now. And now, I said, looking around at everyone, really looking this time? Everyone knows. Here's the part no one tells you about moments like that. The truth doesn't explode. It settles. Not right away. Not loudly. It just lands. And once it does, everything starts shifting around it. No one finished dinner that night. Plates sat half full. Conversations broke into hushed, urgent whispers. My aunt pulled my mom aside almost immediately. My uncle stayed seated, staring at my dad like he was trying to decide whether to be angry or disappointed. Camilla didn't say much after that. She just stood there for a while, then quietly left the table. I didn't follow her, because for the first time, I wasn't the one trying to fix something I didn't break. Over the next few weeks, everything unraveled. But not in chaos, in clarity. I went back to those statements, every deposit, every withdrawal. I organized them, documented them, made copies. Turns out, when an account is created in your name, even if your parents control it, it's not as invisible as they hoped. Now, with help from my aunt, I sat down with a financial advisor. And yeah, what they did? It wasn't just unfair, it crossed a line. They had moved money designated for me into expenses that had nothing to do with me. Some of it went to Camilla's tuition. Some of it covered debts they never admitted existed. When confronted, properly, not at a dinner table, my dad stopped denying it. There wasn't really a way to. So we reached something I never thought we would. Accountability. A formal repayment plan. Partial but real. Structured. Signed. Not because they suddenly wanted to. Because now, they had to. Emotionally, that part was messier. My mom cried a lot. Not loudly, just quietly, like she didn't know where to put the guilt. My dad kept things practical, distant, like if he treated it like a transaction, it wouldn't feel like betrayal. And Camilla, she came to me. I didn't know, she said again. I know, I told her. And for the first time, that conversation wasn't tense. It was honest. She ended up transferring schools, cheaper, more manageable. Not because I asked her to, but because she couldn't unknow it anymore. As for me, I didn't wait anymore. I accepted an offer from a school I chose. Not the most expensive, not the most impressive on paper, but mine. Scholarships, savings, and yes, some of the money they're now paying back. But it feels different, because this time, no one can take it and call it a decision. I still talk to my parents. But it's different now, clearer, boundaries where there weren't any before. And maybe that's the real shift, not what they took, but what I stopped giving without question. I remember sitting alone the night I got my acceptance email open on my screen. No big announcement, no family dinner, just me. And a future that finally made sense. They thought taking it from me meant I'd have less, I said to myself. I closed the laptop slowly. But all it did was show me exactly what I had to build on my own. And this time, everything I build is mine.